know a firm fan favourite as well on these releases are the behind the sofa segments. They really are very, very well received. Again, they must take some planning to get the guests in, particularly this time. It looks like you obviously have been affected a little bit with the COVID situation, quite understandably, but they're really enjoyable. And I think, again, how do you go about the selection of the guests for those, to sort of pair the guests with the different years, Pete?
Behind the Sofa is really Russell's baby. It was his idea and something that he loves, and I think has worked really well and got better and better as there's been a kind of a confidence found to that strand. I think having them shorter, we originally started them out, I think some of the early ones are like 50 minutes, which I think drag a little bit. But I think now we've found the kind of right pace for them and they work brilliantly. And it's really about finding a good balance of people to be able to talk about the stories and try and inject some kind of freshness into every release. So obviously Sasha and Anjali on this set, I think, just make a huge difference in making that feature feel different again, because you obviously want to have Katie on there and she's brilliant as always. You know, Janet and Sarah are hilarious, so they're always good value. So it's just about a balance of guests across the set really, and who kind of would play off against who best. And it's yeah, there's some interesting combinations coming up that he's got in mind too. So it's just going to keep getting better, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're already brilliant. So if they're going to get better, then that's even more so. How much of the episode do they actually watch as part of it?
It's a cut down because obviously you can't have Tom Baker sitting there for 20 hours watching an entire season of Doctor Who. So I used to do the cut downs myself, and I don't have time to do that anymore. But I would generally cut down a story to kind of about 50 minutes, something like that, depending on how long the original story was. And it's just about trying to get the kind of main plot points in there, plus any kind of key scenes that they're likely to remember or is likely to kind of spark conversation or memories. So it's tricky. You know, it'd be great to show them the whole thing and then edit it down, but it would be an editing nightmare, as well as cruel to people like Tom Baker who don't want to sit there for 20 hours.
Okay, we're going to go to our audience questions next, because they've been coming in thick and fast down the chat, and I'm going to invite some people to come and ask their question shortly. Just before I do, I'm going to remind everybody, and we've got some new people with us tonight, but we have got our regulars, but just to remind everybody that we are putting these Zooms on free of charge for everyone, because we're doing these in support of the Theatre Trust Fund. It's obviously, it's really, really difficult time in the arts right now. So the Theatre Support Fund is there to help people, and we are asking people to, if you can, go to the site and either donate or click on into the shop and buy an item, because obviously it's going to help a really, really good cause. The Theatre Support Fund donation link is in the chat now. And I would ask, if you haven't already done so, please to do, because it's a brilliant, it's a really well worthwhile cause actually, and one that we really want everyone to support. Thanks so much for answering your questions so far. I mean, we've got a real big panel here, and we've rattled through quite a lot. But I'm going to go to some audience questions next. And first up, I've got Ian Redman. Ian, are you there to come and ask your question?
I'm here. Hello, thanks for having me on. So I just wondered, this box set, Colony in Space, there's a new edit of Colony in Space that I think's got a few seconds of kind of newly found material. I just wondered if someone could speak about sort of where that came from, because I think that's newly discovered, if I'm not mistaken. How did that come about?
Paul?
Yeah, I can talk about that. So what happened was, when the film recordings were made back in 1971, by mistake, an early version of that particular episode of Colony in Space was film recorded. And that happened because each Doctor Who programme, in fact any BBC programme, has a specific programme number, if you like, recording number. And the only thing that differentiates each recording is either the spool number or a suffix on the end of the recording number. And the recording number stays the same regardless of which version there is of the program. So what happened in this case, the wrong version, an early version, was film recorded, and it must have happened, I suspect it could have happened actually before transmission, but I think it was more likely that it happened after transmission, and it was just bad luck. And not bad luck for us now, because we've got an extra few seconds to put in. But the other thing about that recording is that it doesn't have the finished sound on. It doesn't have any of the music or anything like that. So it's a real oddity. The only other episode that is around that's similar to that is, I think, episode 3 of Invasion of the Dinosaurs, and also episode 5 of Frontier in Space, which we've got the tapes of those cuts. So yeah, it is a weird one.
Okay, thanks for that question, Ian. It's a good one. Up next, we've got Aaron. Aaron, are you there to ask your question? Right, we will unmute you. Bear with us.
There we go.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thanks, Aaron.
My question's for Pete, because the trailers always blow me away whenever you get the people back, and especially the one that you got Bonnie to do with 24 Karat. I adore it. So my question is there any plans to sort of link them together? Because obviously you brought Cliff back for this one, so you've got that relationship and the marriage of Joe. Can we expect any more sort of to link in the future?
You might have spoiled my grand plan, Aaron.
No.
Yeah, I have definite plans to do. I mean, the issue with the trailers is that they kind of get more and more ambitious and ridiculous as they go on. Originally they were shot off the back of things like Chris or Paul's documentaries. They were kind of very hurriedly done in a matter of an hour or two, and I really decided with the Ace trailer that we really, these things deserve to have a bit more focus and attention put on them. So that's when I took over doing them and started to try and make sure that we just had more time and more facilities to kind of achieve the level that we wanted to achieve. And they're made on a shoestring budget with pure love from everyone involved, and that's how they get made. So yeah, I have big plans for them, but it depends. As long as the sets keep selling and everyone keeps loving the trailers, we'll keep trying to make more of them.
I've no doubt at all they're going to keep on selling, and the limited nature of them always guarantees that you're going to pretty much sell out, I think, as well, which is it's great to see them sell out, but it's frustrating, I think, as well at times for those that haven't actually managed to quite get hold of one. But again, I would agree. I think the short you did for this one in particular, again, is really well put together, and it's these teaser trailers are just superb and really whet your appetite, I think, for what's coming in the release when it comes up. So thanks for that question, Aaron. That was great. Next up, we've got Paul Burns to ask a question. Paul, are you there?
Unmute yourself. Hi, guys. I was just wondering what happens if a new production team comes onto the new series and changes the branding of the show. What happens to the packaging of the DVDs? Because as you know, Doctor Who fans are absolutely obsessive about having everything lined up and with the same logo on. What happens when the logo changes?
Who knows? I would say look at the DVDs that came out, which were released across, the show not being on air, and then Russell's era with a certain logo, the Matt Smith era with a certain logo. That those DVDs traversed a number of years of different logos and they stayed the same. So I would hope that BBC Studios would, knowing the collectability of these things and knowing that fans want the spines to look the same, I would hope that they would keep the spines the same. I'll be fighting for you, put it that way.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah, Lee, I was going to say actually, because it's quite difficult because, you know, a bold move made to say that the current logo is the logo that's used on all of the material that comes out now. It's a decision that's taken, but a decision that would be very difficult to change going forward. I mean, I've seen some chatter online, some people who are a little bit upset because the 12 logo isn't quite the same as the 12 logo on previous boxes. But I understand you've got to be careful, and it's you know, these things have got to be consistent. But yeah, there'd be a lot of pain out there if the logo needed to change, I think, halfway through.
I think when we first started, and it was because at the time we were sort of like thinking, do we have? It wasn't a decision that we took lightly on having the current logo on there. But it did sort of like work in conjunction with Cardiff at the same time. And I believe that we did try and get it in writing that they weren't going to change the logo for a very long time. So hopefully it should be all right.
I hope you did get it in writing is all I'll say.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, we're going to go to our next question now, and that's coming in from Ian. Actually, that's a regular question with us. Ian McLachlan. Ian, are you there to ask your question?
There we are.
There he is. Hello, Ian.
Good evening. Hello, good evening, everybody. I'm sure we are all want to thank you for all the fantastic work you've done on the box sets. As a person who lived through all the seasons and love archive TV and got a lot of archive TV, the Doctor Who sets are the best archive TV releases of all. So congratulations to you all. And I would like to ask, how many box sets do you hope to release this year? And hopefully one of them might be one from the 60s.
Well, the template that we've kind of established, you know, pre-pandemic was 3 a year. And really the amount of restoration and the amount of work that it takes to, you know, make Chris and Paul's new documentaries and to do Behind the Sofa, and for Richard to do all his research and for Lee to do the art. That's not something that we can kind of churn out 6 a year, even if we wanted to. There's just not enough man hours in the day. So I would say, you know, 3-ish is about as good as it will get, because we want to make sure that you know, the same love and care and attention goes into every set, and we're not suddenly banging them out and not doing the job to the best of our abilities.
I think it would be very safe to say that a 60s box of some description is very anticipated by the fans. And I know you can't give us any clues, but a 60s one, please, at some point would be very much appreciated by a lot of us.
We would all love that as well.
Well, I might have just teased an answer out there, but I'm not expecting one on that at all. Okay, we'll go to our next question, and that's coming in from Cedric. Cedric, are you there to ask your question?
Yeah.
Cedric, I think you're on mute there, so we'll just get you unmuted. If you just bear with us just for a second.
Okay.
There we go. You're with us. Ask away.
Yeah. Would you consider a cookbook sequel, maybe with other actors choosing recipes from the book?
Cedric, I have to first applaud your sartorial choices there. You are looking beautifully decked out. Oh, look at that. When I learned Toby Haydock had cosplayers, I was so happy. I thought we've succeeded in making Toby an icon. That's amazing. That's beautiful. Well, thank you. I'm glad you presumably enjoyed the first one. Otherwise, you're expressing yourself in a very unusual way. But basically, I don't know is the answer. I can't quite figure out in my head, because I mean, and Russell may have like kind of contrasting feelings with this, but you can technically do another one, because there are loads of lovely other recipes in the book, whether it's Peter Davison or Louise Jameson or Matthew Waterhouse. So there's loads of other things you could do, but it's a bit like Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park, isn't it? You know, just because we could, should, and I think the temptation with these things is always then to say, well, let's spoof another thing, let's spoof MasterChef or Bake Off and put them all in a room together. And then I think, yeah, but you're then losing the whole go into their house, go into their kitchen thing that made the first one really interesting on a human level. So I don't know. I'm sure if we did do one, it would be great. I don't know if it would lose the gag slightly, if it would kill the novelty factor slightly, and you'd probably have to put it on like season 22. You could, if I mean, who knows? But if there was a kind of a picking up of bits and bobs kind of box set, it could fit into that kind of place. But it would feel weird probably having it on like season 25. I think, thinking it has to be after season 23, 25. There's no involvement from that cast in the book. So I don't know. Would you like that? I don't know. I mean, would you like that, Cedric? Would that be a good thing?
I think that's looking like a yes.
Looking like a yes. I don't know. I mean, I think if we did do it, we'd have to try and mix it up. And I always said, that we had India Fisher from MasterChef came and did the voiceover for the first one. I've always said if we did another one, it has to be Sean Pertwee. You have to go to like MasterChef The Professionals and have Sean do the voice, So there'd be tricks that we could play, but I don't know if it's the right thing to do. I think it's lovely that Cookbook exists and was kind of, picked up an award for that this year, and that felt like a lovely thing of a bubble of joy that I don't necessarily want to burst.
Excellent, lovely. And talking of Toby, he sat down with Paul Ballard and myself, and we had a chat about the season 8 Who Talks range, and that chat is going live on our YouTube channel just after we finish the evening. So if you're interested in having a listen to what Toby has to say on that, please, Toby and Paul actually, if you'd like to have a look at that, please join us. It's a really entertaining chat, and it'll be on our YouTube channel. Okay, we've just made a final call out in the chat. So if anybody has any more questions they'd like to ask, we've still a few to get through. But if anyone hasn't yet asked a question and has a burning question for one of our panel, please pop that into the chat right now, and you might stand a chance of that getting asked. Okay, we're going to go to our next person who's got a question for us. AG Films, are you there to ask your question?
Yes, I am. I hope you can all hear me. Cheers a mail, guys, for all the work you're doing. My question is, and this isn't like to get spoilers for what's to come, but is there a story in particular that you were extremely eager to sink your teeth into, or have already, in like whatever your skill may be, the art side, the tech side, the restoration? One story in particular, just really, I can't wait to get to that one. Oh, and also, how many replaceable discs so far, just to keep counts, because there's like 4 of them, I think. Thanks, Emil.
Cheeky. I want to do Remembrance of the Daleks. I love that story. It's one of my favorites. And The Chase. I've got a long history of love of The Chase. It's the thrill of The Chase. I just love it. So those for me, I think.
Anybody else with an answer on this one?
I think I'm looking forward to people more than stories, because I don't think there probably are like making ofs to be done for stories, but I don't necessarily have that off the top of my head. I think I can't wait to do things. I'd love some of those unsung figures of Who, whether it's doing like a Michael Craze documentary or a proper kind of Ian Marter thing, or spending a weekend with Annika Wills or something like that. It's those access to those characters is what I'd love to do. I'd love to do like a proper feature-length Pat Troughton thing with his sons involved. All these kind of things would be amazing. And that's the drip of the commissioning processes. Suddenly, when you hear a new season being talked about, you think, oh wow, that's the door open to that person, so I can access them suddenly. So for me, it's more the people that I can't wait to meet. Definitely.
I'm going to pick 3 stories because I'm greedy. I'm going to say The Five Doctors because it's fab and it's a real celebration of the show. City of Death, one of my favorites and a brilliant story. And yeah, Curse of Fenric is my last one, which obviously has been done, and I did the making of that, which I loved. It's one of my very favorite stories. So they're my 3.
Paul, what about you?
Well, I mean, there's so much to choose from. I kind of think that any of the black and white stories would be great. I would really like to do something with Dalek Master Plan, because it's just such a fabulous story and we just can't see it. So I'd like to do something with that, just to kind of tell the story a bit better. Yeah, I think it's got to be a Dalek master plan.
And Richard, one last one from you. Have you got a favourite there somewhere?
Oh, goodness me. Well, my absolute favourite all-time Doctor Who story is The Seeds of Doom. But I honestly can't think what else we can do with that, because the package was so good on that on the DVD. I have a great fondness for Image of the Fendal, and I must admit I would really like to see Toby do a feature about the crossover between Doctor Who and Quatermass, because I think that covers quite a number of stories, and I think it would be quite interesting to get his take, because he's quite a Quatermass expert and is currently writing a book that has taken him 1,000,000 years to get this far. So I think that would be a very interesting one for Toby to do.
Great idea.
You know, it's going to be packed with a lot of detail in there as well. Sorry, Pete.
No, I just said it was a great idea.
It is, absolutely. Thanks for that question. Great question there. Will G's up next to ask his question. He's actually also put into the chat that he would love a weekend with Jackie Lane to be.
Yes.
I think we all would, absolutely. If anybody can arrange that, that would be amazing. Will, you're up to ask your question. Fire away.
Hi guys, excellent work on the Blu-rays. Absolutely love them. My question is, with the amount of restoration work that will be needed for season 7, can you see this season getting a release?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Spearhead from Space is kind of done, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
And so is Inferno. So we're only really talking about Ambassadors of Death and Silurians, which would need a spruce. And we've already kind of experimented with what we could potentially do with Ambassadors in particular. I mean, when we were planning season 8, we used Ambassadors of Death, and one of the episodes of Ambassadors of Death that was quite poor, to see what we could do in terms of colour recovery, because about 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago, some episodes of the Morecambe and Wise show turned up, and we tried to get some colour off them, and due to a miscommunication, I took the films to the scanning company and scanned them in a particular way, and that was not compatible with colour recovery. But then Richard Russell, who was doing colour recovery, thought, well, actually, if I just tweak things a bit, maybe I can make it work. And then what he discovered is that that resulted in an improvement to colour recovery. So we did do some tests on one of the worst ones, which I think was episode 5 or 6 or 7 of Ambassadors of Death, and the results weren't very good. So I think we will have to revisit it, and any better colour is better. But I can't really see there's an obstacle in us releasing it. If we can't do it one way, we'll find a different way.
I mean, if you look at the cleanup on the episodes on the season 8 box, I mean, this is obviously the acid test to start with, but there's a step up in a number of occasions, and you know, I've got high hopes for season 7. Even if you have to just take what we've got, I think you'll clean it up and make a great job of it, no doubts.
Yeah.
We have another question coming in. Daniel, are you there to ask your question?
Well, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi guys. Just a quick question. For customers like me who don't have a Blu-ray player, will these box sets ever come on DVD?
There's no plans for that to happen. The aim of these box sets is to take full advantage of the quality of Blu-ray and the extra bit rates that you can get, and maximize that. So there's no plans at the moment to kind of downgrade them to release them on DVD.
Fair enough.
Daniel, I think you've got another question actually that you've popped in the chat. Do you want to ask that while you're on?
Yeah, Richard kind of answered it earlier, but when you're doing the extras, have you ever come across where someone's memories on the stories conflict with someone else's memories?
Goodness me. Yeah, well, yeah, most of Donald Tosh's actually. Donald's got some funny memories about a few things. Yeah, but I think the thing you always have to remember with Doctor Who is that for the vast majority of people who were involved with it at the time, especially production staff like producers and script editors and doctors and companions, what's in their head largely is one large lump. They don't remember a lot of individual things, so they tend to have a lot more general thoughts about things, and it's not necessarily tied up with the actuality. Sometimes, you know, people will misremember occasions or where they were when they did things or how they did things, but you know, sometimes it's just a matter of sort of gently nudging them in the right direction to get them to remember things. And usually if you do provide them with some memory joggers, then things will start coming back. It is surprising what happens. Donkeys years ago, I did an amateur making of Marco Polo documentary, and I went to see Mark Eden. Mark said, no, I can't remember anything about this at all, but yeah, if you want to come and see me, fine. So went there, showed him some pictures, showed him a few documents, and you couldn't stop the man talking. It was all coming back, you know, his memories of being at Lime Grove and Danny Blanchflower, his favourite footballer, being there in the canteen at the same time, and this, that and the other, and things were just flooding back. So providing you give people the triggers, they do actually remember, and they can actually remember quite well, actually.
Brilliant. Okay, thanks for that. I'm going to announce the poll winner. I started a poll at the start of our Zoom this evening, where I asked our assembled audience what their favourite story was from season 8. Now, we at Fantom sat down, several of us sat down and had a discussion about this ourselves, and that video is up on our YouTube channel. I've got the answer from our audience, but before I go to what the winner is there, I'm going to ask each of our panel, which is their favourite season 8 story. Paul, start with you.
I mean, I've got so many. Difficult to pick one because I've got really fond memories of all of them, apart from Colony in Space, which I don't remember watching. But I watched all of the others the first time round. I think it's probably going to be Terror of the Autons because that's the one I've got the strongest memories of. The Demons comes kind of a close second, I suppose. But Claws of Axos is probably the best.
Okay. Richard?
I've got a great love for Claws of Axos. Mainly because when I got the Radio Times 10th anniversary back in 1973, I don't remember watching Claws of Axos, but I was absolutely intrigued by the big tentacly axon photograph there, which is why I made Lee put it on the cover. Sorry, Lee. But I think for sheer enjoyment, probably Terror of the Autons is my favourite of the season.
Lee, I'm disappointed the Eye of Axos is not on the front cover. I had the poster on my wall for years that came out with either the weekly or the monthly many, many years ago. So I'm very disappointed the Eye of Axos is not represented.
Maybe when we release these sets on holographic marbles, I'll put it on that.
Fabulous. I will appreciate that. What's your favourite season 8 story?
I would have said Claws of Axos, but the best thing about doing these sets is going back and rewatching everything in order to get everything correct in your head. And it's Claws has gone down to number 2. It's Terror of the Autons now. I love it. It's so good.
A lot of love here for Terror of the Autons coming out from our panel. Pete?
Yeah, I'm torn between Terror of the Autons and the Demons, depending on what day you ask me. Today, I'm going to say Terror of the Autons as well. They're both fantastic.
Fabulous. And finally, Chris.
Autons is my nostalgic choice from owning it on video in about '93 for the anniversary. But I despite the fact that fandom seems to have decided it's the cool thing now to bang on about it being overrated when it's not the bloody story's fault what people think of it, I'm going to go with the Demons, because I think episode 1 and the whole BBC Three framing format is one of the smartest ways to do an episode 1 that's ever been done in Doctor Who. And I love location filming in Doctor Who. And if you love location filming, then the Demons is kind of like the perfect story for you. So I'm still sticking by the Demons, and I don't care if it's cool or not. I'm with it till the end, really.
I'm going to change my mind and side with Chris. I'm saying the Demons now.
Late change. Okay, you haven't been looking at the poll results, I hope, Pete.
It's a backlash. That's what we're putting forward here. It's the backlash.
The Bok, which was the hashtag used recently on Twitter for the rewatch of the Demons. And the answer of our poll, so in last place, the Colony in Space. Last. Claws of Axos came in fourth, actually. I should be reversing this. The Mind of Evil was next. The Terror of the Autons is second, so lots of love for Terror we had there. And the Demons was, in fact, the winner of our poll by quite some margin. And I'm not going to spoil our. Yes, there it is. Paul's got. Just speak there, Paul. Just bring this to the front.
Bok approves.
Oh, we got Russell Minton on. Excellent.
Bok approves.
We have the Bok seal of approval there that our poll has won Demons. Please check out our Fantom season 8 discussion, and you can see which story won that when we totted up our scores at the very end. Okay, one last question for my panel before I let you go. What little treats have we got coming up on the next release? Can you tell us anything about that?
Who wants to say something?
I can talk about the extended episodes of season 24. So there's going to be an extended version of every single episode of season 24 on the season 24 box set. And there's some quite interesting stuff in there that people probably won't have seen before. And they've all got amazing 5.1 sound remixes. And the longest one is almost 30 minutes long. So yeah, there's lots of interesting stuff. And also there's a really interesting, fascinating actually, in conversation with Sylvester. So yeah, I can't really talk about anything else on there because I haven't done a great deal else, but yeah.
There is an absurd amount of behind the scenes material.
Oh, there is,
coming up on that one. I mean, yeah. Richard Latto, who has bravely condensed all this down. I think it's something like 25 hours worth in total, which is a quarter of what he had to go through. So you know, if you like watching the behind the scenes material, both in studio and out on location, then you've got a treat coming up with 24 because there's a mass of it.
There's a fantastic featurette where we basically use all the cut down of the regeneration, behind the scenes of the regeneration. So there's I think you get to see the full thing in the tapes, but there's also like a 20-minute separate thing where you can just watch how they shot the regeneration with Sylvester in his crazy wig and see.
And we've done. I was very happy that we got to do another Doctor's Table. That we did one on season 23, which we really enjoyed, had a lot of fun. And on this one, it just seemed like the perfect. You kind of want it to be a fun gang of raconteurs, essentially, who kind of who get on and bring out new things from each other. So we went, unlike the writers' room where I like to have a different pub each time, on this one we thought, let's keep the same restaurant, let's go back to the Ivy, keep the same feel but change the people around the table. So on this one it's Sylvester, Sophie, Bonnie and Clive Merrison from Paradise Towers, and it's just really I think like the first one, it's really, really fun and joyous and silly and also kind of enlightening and telling at the same time. And I know that we've done a kind of a more feature length season overview, that there's a Delta making of, which is again one of those things where you look at it and think, well, there's a gap there where Delta was a very slimline DVD release, and so it's an opportunity to fill that kind of gap. So I hope, like season 23, it's obviously its reputation is quite a Marmite season 24, but I hope the box set will be this kind of amalgamation of a coming together of positivity towards it, at least to give it another go, at least to watch it in one go, absorb all the extras, and say, actually, what do I really think of this? Which I hope people will get on board with.
The Delta making of is fantastic, actually, and also one really great thing, something that's really special, is behind the sofa, because for the first time ever, there's 3 doctors on that set. You know, there's Peter and Colin and Sylvester watching that season, so it's great to see their reactions to that season.
That's a lovely idea. I'm looking forward to that.
And Lee, I hope you've got something sumptuous in the way of art for us for the front cover and inside the booklet.
Yes, just hopefully up to the usual standard. But I'm going to echo what everybody else said. I think going into this one, season 24 was never really my favorite series before, because I always preferred 25 and 26. But seeing the amount of effort and the amount and behind the scenes stuff that is sort of come to light now, I've got a real appreciation for it. And I think that hopefully when people get that set as well, they'll feel the same way. It's a brilliant season, and the effort that everybody put into it was so good. So yeah, it's due a reappraisal basically.
Fantastic. And there I'm going to bring us to a close. That has been a whistle-stop tour through the season 8 box. You have given us lots of fabulous answers, and it's just been a joy to listen to what you've talked about season 8 tonight. I'd like our audience in Zoom to please put your hands together in a virtual way for our panel. Pete, Lee, Chris, Richard and Paul, please.